this December 7th through 9th. Check out the EdUp Experience podcast live and in person in Doha, Qatar for the World Innovation Summit on Education. We will be documenting the ideas and innovations from today's most influential global education leaders. Check them out at wise-qatar.org and follow the EdUp Experience podcast for more information. Yay! Do you want to hear about something that is so unique for two-year colleges? Did you know that Unmuddle created a national marketplace for community colleges? That's right. For more details, go to unmuddle.com/colleges. That's UNMUDL.com/colleges. Welcome back, everybody. This is the EdUp Experience podcast, where we make education your business. Dr. Joe Salustio here with you again and again. Boy, am I excited today for the episode. I feel like we're serving up a 5-course dinner on this episode. It's got me already jazzed. I do want to remind folks, hit our website. One of the most valuable categories that we have, because we've categorized all the episodes on our website. We have a business and industry category now, where we bring on the brightest and most influential leaders in business and industry to give you the perspectives that are in and around higher education. Kind of brings me to my point on this episode, because I've got a co-host with me. First, I want to introduce him. Before we started the episode, the recording started, and I came on last, and I heard him going like this. And I was like, what is that sound? And why is he laughing like he's taking over the EdUp Experience? And then I realized he has been here before. He is taking over. His name is John Ferrari, and he's Director of Education at Google. John, welcome back.
Joe, always great to be back. And I've been wondering what this was going to be like without Liz and with you being unsupervised, and the soundboard is living up to what I thought might happen.
Just stop laughing, John, please.
I don't keep it up, and we may take over this thing.
I'm telling you, it's a Google takeover of the EdUp Experience. I'm very excited about that. And John, you've brought somebody with you that I would say is highly influential in the learning space. You want to talk about who you brought with you today, or do you want me to introduce her? I kind of feel like you should.
I'm happy to do it. We've got my good friend Katie Kurtz with us today from the YouTube learning side of things. She's our second guest here. We had Lisa Gebelbo from the Grow with Google certs earlier in the year, and Katie's our second sort of Google personality. Katie is an education native. Spent time at Princeton Review, spent time at Noodle Partners, and has been in her current role for the last couple years, 2+, and is really focused on making YouTube an essential part of the learning ecosystem, which has become really an integral force within that. And I'm excited to bring Katie on and talk about how that is evolving and kind of where she sees it going to next.
Katie Kurtz, welcome to the EdUp Experience.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so delighted to be here.
I can't even get the crowd to... Katie, they just won't stop. It's like this continual... Guys, sit down. She's important. Come on. All right. Katie, how are you? First of all, how are you doing?
I am well, thanks. It's great to be here.
I hope you're excited. We're going to have a good time talking about what you know how to talk about. It's interesting, because I do a little bit of background, and I saw, and I'm like, wait a minute, how do we not cross paths before? Because I've been in higher ed for like 20 years. You worked at Noodle Partners. You were here. You were there. I swear your name sounds familiar, because higher ed, it's like this closed ecosystem. You always come across people, the same people, just in different roles.
Yep, for sure. And I have also been in higher ed for about 20 years. So I'm sure our paths have crossed at some point. We just don't remember.
So tell me how you go from let's call it the more traditional higher ed pathway to ending up at YouTube. What's that journey? How do you get there? And because understand that for us normal higher ed folks, we're like, how does she do that? Like, how does somebody get to YouTube? Talk about that journey.
Well, so I started in education. I mean, it's true, I've been in education for about 20 years. And sadly, I wish I could say that was actually where I started right out of college, but I actually started in TV production. I was a a producer on the Food Network in the very early days of the Food Network. And that's really what got me excited about media. So I ended up at graduate school in a media studies program. It was the early days of the internet and, you know, the .com everything. And I got really interested in the idea of bricks and mortar companies that were building websites and not really knowing what they wanted out of them. So I did a summer internship at the Princeton Review. They had just built their first online SAT test prep course, and they didn't really know why. Like, it was kind of like a bright, shiny object, but it was like, but what's the end goal here? Is it, you know, is it branding? Is it marketing? Is it lead gen? Is it an actual product? Does it cannibalize our existing products? And so, so I joined to help think through that problem space, and just ended up falling in love with the space broadly. I never left. I was at the Princeton Review for 10 years. I got really excited about the idea of test prep as a way to, you know, kind of think about education as meeting students where they are. And so a big part of what I did in my role there was, you know, business development, was think through sort of product extensions. How could we take the content that we have and meet students in different moments of their lives? So we created an SAT video game in partnership with Ubisoft.
That's smart.
It was fun. It was pretty fun. And we created one of the first education apps in the App Store. It was an SAT vocabulary game. The idea being, if you have 10, 15 minutes on the school bus, you know, you might as well do something that's valuable, but also fun. So it used a lot of like gamification techniques. It ended up being really, really popular. And I think what I have discovered is that it's not surprising to me that a lot of the innovation that's come out of the ed tech space has really been incubated in test prep. You see so many innovators who've come from places like Princeton Review and Kaplan, and I think it's because of this maniacal focus on the student experience, on the learner, meeting them where they are and measuring outcomes, which of course, you know, the internet is then great at. So so I did that for about 10 years. I ended up as one of the first business hires at a very early days startup called Newton, an adaptive learning platform. I was the head of biz dev and PR there in the early days. I ended up at Cengage, heading up the higher ed sales team, and then found my way back to my old boss, John Katzman, at his latest startup, Noodle Partners, where I was the chief product officer for a little while, building fully online degree programs for universities like NYU and Tulane. And then this opportunity came around. And after spending 20 years around education, trying to improve learning outcomes at scale, you know, nothing felt like it could be more tantalizing as an opportunity than YouTube, with over 2 billion users. And to this day, almost 3 years later after joining, the scale and reach of engagement of this platform is just astonishing to me.
Amazing.
Thanks, John, for that comment. Your voice is very deep today, but it's not time for you to be brought in. I have one more question for Katie before I kick it over to you. It is amazing, though, Katie, because you're talking about, we're talking about YouTube here, right? I mean, let's get our arms around this. I mean, the possibilities, the learning that's already being realized, the content, I mean, just the possibilities, the potential, isn't not endless. I mean, video is so much of where it's at right now. I will tell you, I'm not particularly like where it's TikTok and YouTube all the time. I'm more on YouTube than I am TikTok, but you see students today, 17, 18, I've got like a neighbor who that's all they did. There wasn't even TV watching. I'm like, what shows you watching? Oh, nothing. I just watch YouTube. I'm just on YouTube. Yeah. And think about that potential. You're just on YouTube. So what is it that you're inserting or kind of in control of learning for social impact and programs? How do you focus content to a learning platform, so to speak?
Yeah, no, it is amazing to think about. YouTube is
no TV. Again, what is that?
Exactly. Okay. I have 3 kids. One of them is really a poster child for learning on YouTube. He just teaches himself everything he learns. He learns by going to YouTube first. But it's true, like it is a platform of over 2 billion people, and it sounds absurd, but almost everyone uses it to learn something. I mean, over 85% of our users say they go to the platform to learn something. So now that can be anything from, I want to, learn how to make a sourdough starter, or I have to fix a tire, or it could be photosynthesis, or, teaching myself Python. And so we know that people are going to come to the platform because they need to learn for school, for work, just for life. They may come because they want to learn something new, like a new hobby, or they want to connect with another community of people who care about a passion that they have. Or they might come to YouTube because they need to learn something, whether that's a just-in-time how to solve something that's broken and fix it in my house, or because I have to, pass a test or a course or get a job. So it is really a ubiquitous part of the platform. But the thing that I am most awed by really is just how beloved a user experience it is. We do a lot of user testing, and when we talk to users, they report that after learning something on YouTube, they feel more confident and more empowered. And that's deeply motivating to me.
Katie, to that end, YouTube is a highly personal, I think, interface, and you get to see people in a lot of their, kind of natural environments, and you get those heartstring pulling moments. What are some of the favorite stories that you and the team have encountered going through that experience? You just described it at a macro level, but I mean, do you have some real life examples that you found interesting?
Yeah, I actually, it's so, my first experience with learning on YouTube and the power of people turning into it on their own, right? Like I am motivated to learn on my own, was actually when I was at Cengage. I was overseeing a team. It was 350 sales reps all over the country. I was on college campuses, every week, and I would always try to talk to students when I was there. And I'd ask them questions like, it's the first day of school and you get your syllabus. What do you do? And almost to a person, they would say, I go to YouTube and see if I can find the videos that are going to help me succeed in this course. And it just was like a light bulb that students have motivation to succeed. They want to learn. They seek out additional resources to help them. And so often, we find in formal education, we're failing them, and we're taking a lot of that self-motivation, and we're not meeting the moment. And then I get to YouTube and I'm just overwhelmed by so many of our edutubers. That's what we call our learning creators fondly, our edutubers. So many of their
edutubers, Katie.
Edutubers.
I love
exactly. I'm copywriting it.
Please do, because it's a great title for the episode. Let me tell you.
Okay, there we go. So many of them have users that are just filled. The comments are just filled with thank yous and praise, and whether it's Mosa Maribel and her chemistry channel, where she has one user who was like, "You make the world a better place," or the user on Crash Course who said, "You guys deserve all of my tuition dollars." I think though that the most meaningful story that I hold close to me, thinking about the power of what we do and the potential for improving lives, is actually the story of a man named Josh Carroll. He enlisted after September 11th. He did 3 tours and came back suffering from PTSD. He was working as a janitor in a local high school. Part of his job was cleaning the library at night, and he stumbled across the science section, started reading books on his own, and decided he wanted to be a physicist. But he had no more than 10th grade math, had never taken trigonometry before, and went to YouTube and taught himself trigonometry entirely on his own. He now makes his living as a physicist. The ability of education and access to education to transform lives is never lost on me.
Keep going, John.
Yeah, no, great story. Well, I'm getting sensitive now, Joe. I want to make sure you don't feel like we're taking over the show. So
that's my sensitive button.
Disturb your sensibilities. But Katie, let's just sort of call out the elephant in the room here in terms of this pandemic and what it's done, to the platform, and maybe accelerated maybe adaptation, and maybe in ways that you hadn't seen before. Joe and I and Liz in previous episodes have talked about, the pandemic probably pulled forward virtual learning or online learning a full decade, at least half a decade, depending on how you want to look at it, which part of the ecosystem. I guess what changes did you notice on the platform, and how is that, what do you think that portends for going forward?
Yeah, no, we certainly, over 1.5 billion students, right, were like immediately thrust into remote learning without a lot of planning and preparation. And so very early on, we definitely saw an increase in the consumption of academic content. Just for, context, in January and February of 2020, we had something like 300 videos that were uploaded with the title remote learning or distance learning. In March of 2020 alone, there were 23,000. So it was just clear that we were going to have to do something to be more helpful to students and to educators. And so we created a destination, youtube.com/learning, in 12 languages, available in 33 markets around the world. And where we could, we partnered with ministries of education to help ensure that destination became a resource, a supplement, to make it as curriculum aligned as possible, so that students could really use it to stay engaged in their academic studies. It wasn't going to replace what was happening in distance learning, but it could help them feel like they had more tools at their disposal, maybe to help them stay engaged. And we definitely wanted to make that, available for teachers as well, who were struggling to keep their students engaged. We also knew that parents were struggling and how to keep focus, but also how to keep their students and their kids off of devices. So we created a temporary website called Learn at Home. It was really meant to be for caregivers. And while it certainly featured a lot of academic content, it also had a lot of content about, learning by doing, creativity, getting away from your computer and experimenting and getting outside, which ended up being, I think, a bit of a lifeline during the summer, with so many camps closed, schools closed, not a lot for kids to do. And certainly ever since then, we have not seen any of that interest wane. We still feel like the interest in academic video content to supplement what's happening inside of the formal classroom space is not really going away. And so we'll continue to keep investing in this area to see if we can't be more and more helpful to users and teachers.
Katie, I want to ask more of a tactical question to you. Your title, Director of Content Partnerships, Learning and Social Impact with YouTube. And tell me what that means. All right. So Director of Content Partnerships, I'm assuming that not everybody can just raise their hand to be a content partner, right? There's some kind of requirement that you must have, or reach that you must have. And then learning and social impact, are those mutually exclusive? Are you trying to connect those two things together? Is it learning for social impact, or social impact from learning, or are they completely separate when it comes to content partnerships?
They are. So yes, we work with content partners directly. So we'll work with endemic creators, we'll work with media companies, we'll work with institutions as they're thinking about their channel strategy, how YouTube fits into their overall content story. And then the difference between learning and social impact is we really see them as very much connected. Part of the way that we define social impact is around educating users to understand a cause in order to take action on that cause. And that cause could be, climate change and sustainability. It could be social justice, it could be racial justice. It could be a lot of different things, but the partners that we're working with are specifically looking to help empower users to know what they can do about it. And on the learning side, learning is pretty broad. But we are really thinking about that content that's helping users towards achieving a goal that they have. How are we helping them on their pathway, whatever that goal could be, whether it's academic or it's professional development skills. We want to help move them forward. And I definitely think that there is a positive social impact in across the spectrum of all of the partners that we're working with.
Wow.
I like that a lot because we know how important social impact is, no matter how you quantify it or qualify it. I think there's a lot of, I know that business and industry, individuals, we're all sort of being measured by our ability to impact our social situation for the better, or other social situations for the better, right? That's a big part of, I think, the movement and awareness around social impact in general, and learning plays a very key part in that, right? You have to know, like you said, you have to know the issue before you can take action on that issue. Yeah. And people that come to YouTube all the time, all day long to learn things. There's learning how to use a soundboard, for example, so I can have something like this.
Let's get started.
Right. So I know that I came to YouTube and I was like, oh, I got this great piece of equipment here. I have no idea how to use it. And the directions make no sense. So let me go to YouTube, and I YouTubed it. I did. I YouTubed how to use my soundboard. Totally true story. But to higher ed, right? How many instructors, faculty searched for how do I teach online, or what resources are out there for online learning as we transition into COVID world? Now we go back, or some institutions are going back. They're going back to in-person classes. They're resuming maybe what happened before COVID. And we all know that the worst thing you could ever do is, we used to do it that way and go back to that same thing. Do you think that educators and learners will continue to supplement their teaching, their knowledge via YouTube, even though some might go back to whatever normal looked like?
I think that we're already seeing that they will, and in part because I think YouTube doesn't replace teachers, right? Like all we're doing is enabling teachers to connect with audience, and really the power of, at the end of the day, right, like the power of a great teacher, that person who, like, everyone has that story of that one teacher who connected with you and helped you imagine something that you could achieve that you didn't think that you could do. And it's this moment that stays with you for the rest of your life. All those great teachers right now are limited in classrooms of 30 students at a time. All we want to be able to do is give them the opportunity to reach 30,000 students at a time if they want to. And if we can, what does that mean in terms of that moment, that light bulb happening for just that many more students in the world? And so one of the things that I am completely awed by, again, is just how intrinsically motivated users are to come to the platform to learn on their own, that no one sends them there, they seek it out. And I think that the other thing that we're seeing in sort of like not a return to the previous times is part of what they were seeking out wasn't just the information. There's more to learning on YouTube than just the teaching. There's also the community. There's the engagement with other people. There's finding, the people who are going to help you through, who are going to support you. And one of the things that I do love so much about our edutubers and the channels that they create is when you get into the comments section, you can find this wonderfully inclusive peer group of people who are asking questions and helping each other. So it's not just the information. They're definitely seeking more than that. And that's why I don't think that we're going to go back to a time where that outlet to supplement your academic studies isn't just a sort of a part of the process moving forward.
Hi, I'm Dr. Amy Diaz, Interim President of Gateway Community College in Phoenix, Arizona. Gateway is a proud founding college partner of Unmuddle. We joined Unmuddle to reach a new market of students, the working learners. Unmuddle provides a needed mechanism for these students to work and learn simultaneously, providing a valuable return on their investment. Unmuddle elevates Gateway's non-credit training opportunities to a national level, scaling in a way that is difficult for individual community colleges to do on their own. Unmuddle also provides a unique opportunity for colleges to feasibility test new potential certificate and degree programs. The higher education landscape is crowded, but the value of community colleges is unmatched. Unmuddle will take us to new heights, and we're excited for the journey.
Well, I want to pass it to you, John. But I have, guys. I hate to do this to you both, but I am going to do it. I've kind of got a curveball question. I'm going to ask it to you, Katie. You can pick from one of the two, and then John has to answer the other one. This is the unexpected part of the episode, John. And then and then once you guys answer, John, you can kind of take it from there. Are you ready, Katie?
I'm ready. I'm ready.
I just love to hit that button, right? It makes me feel like super game show official almost. I want to ask you, Katie, if there's a song playing for you and it's your entrance music. I've been asking guests this a lot lately. What's the song that would play for you every single time you entered a room, your entrance music? Or you can answer, Katie, what does your dream vacation look like? The one you need to take.
Well, I did work at a company once where there was music every time you opened the front door.
This is amazing.
And so I didn't choose the song. It was chosen for me, but I know what that song is. But I'm going to save that because I want to hear John's answer. I will say that the vacation that I am taking is in a couple of weeks to Hawaii, where I have never been before, and I'm very excited to experience.
And you deserve it. John, that leaves you with your entrance music that you have to answer for everybody.
Yeah, look, I'm living in California, but my dad is from Chicago. I spent 20 years in Chicago. We'll probably make our way back there again. I am a huge Sinatra fan, so Chicago would probably be that song for me. I don't know that really says anything about me other than that's kind of where I consider myself to be a native of, but that's probably the song.
I think it says a lot, John. Thanks, guys. I get to learn a little bit about you. John, take it away.
Yeah, Katie, following up on the previous, although Katie, I do want to hear what your walk-up song is.
I got to hear it too. I got to hear what this song was that was playing.
It was a surprise, and I think it was a joke. I don't know. It was Uptown Girl by Billy Joel, because I am yeah. I'm a lifelong New Yorker, and I actually grew up downtown. I went to school uptown, and all of my friends. It was 8 miles away is how it felt.
Like it.
Very famous video. I remember that.
Yes.
Going back to I think where Joe was at, and like how are we going to use YouTube to supplement education going forward? I completely agree with you. I don't think we're going backwards, and I think the places that do decide to go backwards are probably going to suffer a little bit. I think students have gotten used to virtual education, the flexibility it provides, and frankly the enhanced learning at their speed it provides. I'm wondering, and this is a little bit of a projection, and maybe me again as a Midwesterner that went to class in freezing cold weather, today I would really want an incentive to go to class and having a different experience. In other words, like I can probably get Professor Smith's lecture now in a video format that then would allow Professor Smith to have more in-class presentations, teamwork, mentoring, coaching, again, like what I think would be teaching versus lecturing. Like, how do you see that coming about? Do you think that will be a thing? And do you think, like, I guess in our surveying students, I'm starting to feel that. That's a little bit of a guess, but I'm starting to feel it. I got a feeling like the technology is going to allow for more of that. So I'm wondering how you're seeing that part of teaching evolve maybe as an enhancement.
Yeah, no, I think, I hope so too. I think one of the things that we're seeing is that institutions more than individual teachers are sort of lagging behind a little bit, and maybe it's just a little hard to reimagine your role as an institution and how you show up. But so many of our edutubers are just educators. They are teachers, they're professors, they're starting a YouTube channel because they love to teach, and they think that they can find audience that way, and they can connect in a different way. And sometimes it also allows for a different way of showing up, maybe a little less I'm the authority figure in your life, and maybe more of I can be the peer or the tutor that can kind of coach and guide you and help you feel like you can be successful. We definitely don't see that as much from institutions yet, and we're working on it. John, as you know, we worked together to create that Getting Started guide for higher ed institutions, and in hopes to, and thank you, your team was so amazing in helping us put that together. And part of it was to really help create a different way of thinking about showing up. And we tend to see higher ed institutions show up in one of three ways, and the first and most common is still marketing brochure, really flashy, highly produced campus tour videos, or maybe a little bit about the football team. And maybe a user will stumble across that if they're searching for your institution specifically, but they're not going to subscribe to that channel, right? Like, it's not creating a relationship, it's not creating a connection, because it doesn't feel authentic to them. It feels like marketing. The second way is we just see a bunch of universities take a lot of video content that they have created for online courses, and then just say, well, I'll repurpose it. I'll just put it up on a YouTube channel. And that way, if, I'm sort of amortizing the cost of that investment by letting people find it in a different way. And sure, users might stumble across that as well if they're searching for a specific concept, but it mostly ends up feeling like a junk drawer of content. It has no organizational structure. It has no personality. It doesn't really tell you who this institution is. And so the third way, which is, the most, significant commitment, is actually to create a narrative, a persona, to create an identity, to curate a channel that speaks to who your institution is and who you want it to be. And we've worked with some universities to reimagine their presence on YouTube, and I'm positive that we can do more in this space. When we worked with Duke, for example, we helped them reimagine their channel with shelves that, there's one channel that's organized around campus life, if that's what you're interested in, but there's another that's, sort of fundamentals of engineering. And I show up as a user and I get a sense of what Duke is all about. We worked with Arizona State University. They also wanted to show up differently, and they had a particular problem that they were trying to solve for. They saw a lot of first-year freshman students really struggling in foundational courses that are required for graduation. And it's very hard to reach those students once they're starting to fall behind. So they wanted to have a YouTube channel as a way to supplement, to speak to those students, but to speak to them with a different voice. Not the professor in the room who's assessing you or grading you or judging you, but as someone who's actually just there to support you and help get you through. And one of the things that I'm most excited about that we did there was that we helped kind of act as matchmaker with one of our most successful endemic learning partners. Crash Course, founded by John and Hank Green, they've been on the platform now for over 10 years. They've created incredibly engaging and charming and funny videos unpacking incredibly complex academic subjects. They have almost 13 million subscribers at this point. They're just really, really talented storytellers. And so we were able to bring them together to create a content series of learning playlists designed to act as a supplement to academic courses. And it's been really great to see the success. We've had, just over a year, we had about a million views. But even more interestingly, we saw over 100 different institutions were starting to embed that content within their own learning management systems, which I think is a clear signal that this kind of content is really, there's just a lot more of it needed. And I'd love to do more to help universities reimagine their strategy of showing up in a different way.
Want me to keep going, Joe?
I want you to keep going until you exhaust yourself, John. But I don't know how long that's going to take.
That could take a while with John.
I guess one follow-up to that, one of the things that Joe has heard me make this remark before, but I just looked up on YouTube and it just typed in, why should I major in business, right? And a handful of videos come up. What I found interesting is there isn't one university that has kind of done the PSA on this and said, these are the 5 reasons you should major in business and the benefits of it. It's the watch out, same thing for nursing, whatever. And it just seems like there's something missing maybe on the student journey that maybe us as an ecosystem could be helping with. As an example of that, used to work in home services. If you go on YouTube right now on how to fix your flapper valve, like everybody has got that running toilet, you'll find a Roto-Rooter video. It's 2.5 minutes. Tells you how to fix that flapper valve. It's got 14 million views.
Very interesting example, John. Thank you.
Well, but my point is that's a much lower involvement process than deciding where to invest your education dollars, right?
Yes.
And yet I don't think the ecosystem is doing a lot to help students on that journey. And it does seem like YouTube lends itself. I'm more probably making a statement than a question, Katie, but I am curious, like how can we better utilize this platform for that part of the student journey, especially in light of the pandemic, where it's like modalities have changed and potentially how students are looking at their investment has changed. It just seems like a missed opportunity for the whole space.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I think we're, hopefully I think we're starting to see some signs of success there. Again, I'm really thrilled with some of the work that we've done so far with this ASU crash course partnership, and trying to help reimagine this student journey and the different touch points that you need along the way. And I think that's the piece where I'm so I guess motivated, and I see so much potential for YouTube to act as that kind of tutor, guide, support. We'll never replace the full experience, but if we can help keep you on your path to success as a user, I keep coming back to just how intrinsically motivated everyone is on YouTube to learn. They came there on their own to do it, and it's a beautiful thing that they are finding people who are helping get them through. And the more we can tap into that, student success doesn't have to be, outsourced to coaches. It can be built, it can be crowdsourced within your own community. I might understand a concept that you don't understand, John, and vice versa, and we can help each other. And through that experience of helping each other, we're creating more confidence in our own ability to learn and succeed. And so that's where I think there's already so many, there's just so many wonderful examples of creators that are building those kinds of communities on YouTube. And I hope, back to your question, Joe, about what my team can do, I hope my team can be a part of helping to make sure we're helping a lot more folks being able to do that.
Yeah, I think that what you just said there, that you don't necessarily have to outsource student success retention. You can crowdsource it. It's like I call it the mic drop moment of this episode. Thanks for dropping that bomb, Katie.
Yeah, that was a big mic.
You like that? It's a very big microphone that you have, and a lot of influence. And I think it's so important what you're doing, especially what I find most interesting is that you can you have an at-home research department, with your kids, and yes. you just, what are you doing? How are you doing it? Why are you doing it that way? I mean, talk about, something maybe another leader wouldn't necessarily have that level of research, but you have that at-home research department. You have very motivated team members with a commitment to learning. I mean, look, I don't think anybody who's not looking at YouTube, anybody that's looking at YouTube and going, oh, this doesn't have anything to do with the future of learning, is out of their mind, right? Because YouTube is absolutely where so many of us go to learn. How do we formalize that? How do we take advantage of the channel, of the ability to be seen, right? You said it earlier. You said authentic. Use the word authentic. And authenticity is currency, don't you think, Katie? I mean, it really is.
Yeah, I mean, this certainly, we know from our Gen Z users, they smell marketing, a mile away, and they want no part of it, right? Like they want to make connection, and so yeah, they seek out authentic experiences, and I guess that's my one hope for higher ed as someone who has been around the space for a really long time, and know that there's so much more that we can do to help improve outcomes at scale, that we have to do more. It's just an imperative that we figure out how to help more people succeed and get on that path to whatever success looks like for them in their lives. And I think part of that is just going to have to be showing up differently. We just can't always have this professor student relationship. There have to be other ways to connect. There have to be other ways to create more safe space to fail. One of the reasons I think that learning on YouTube is beloved is that no one is assessing you. No one's grading you. No one's giving you feedback, right? Like if you're stuck on something, you stop, you rewind the video. And if you're still stuck, you go find another video that explains the concept in the first video. That
and you're not going to get a grade if you set your sound recorder up wrong. You're just going to go back and watch the video again.
You're just going to keep at it until you feel like you can conquer it. And if you can't, you call a lifeline, which is another user, subscriber, someone in that channel who is offering to help you. And so that's what I'm most hopeful for, is we can try to show up differently in different places, create different spaces. The fact that you can fail and keep going and find success on your own is incredibly motivating. I think that there's more room to do more there.
John, do you have any other questions for Katie before I give her the final two, as I like to call it?
No, because let's give her the final two, because I want to give her some room here, because I think I know what might be on tap. So ask the question. You
got it. Katie, number one, what did we miss about YouTube learning and social impact that you would want to say? Any initiatives you have going on, anything about your team, anything cool, plug away. And then secondly, what do you see as the future? Look forward for us. What's the future of higher education look like?
Let's see. I would say one of the things that I'm most excited about is that we've taken a lot of this momentum of seeing folks turning to YouTube to help supplement their academic studies and also to help find jobs, to find the skills needed for jobs. You know, we've talked a lot about sort of traditional higher ed, but we've also have a whole community of folks that are upskilling, reskilling, finding the skills that they need to get the jobs that they want. And as we think about this, this space of, you know, sort of self-motivated learning on YouTube, I think one of the things that I'm most excited about is our ability to help users stay a little bit more engaged on their path, whatever that path might be. We definitely took this pandemic as a bit of a license to do more in this space, and we've been building on this momentum. And Susan, our CEO, announced at the beginning of the year in her creator letter that one of our priorities was to double the number of users that are engaging with educational content on the platform. And we've been busy ever since, hence the Hawaii vacation that I'm so excited about, but really trying to deliver on that promise, to help users find the content they need when they need it and to stay engaged on it. I mean, YouTube in some ways is like the world's largest library of educational content, but you as a user walk into this library and there's no librarian to guide you. You've got to figure it out on your own. So how can we help? How can we help you make sure you're finding the content that you need when you need it, and then help you stay engaged on it? I mean, I think it's wonderful in some ways that you as a learning creator are communicating within a space that also has gaming videos and Lizzo videos, and
there's dancing in there somewhere. Yeah.
You're always going to have no shortage of distractions. And so it forces you to be a great storyteller to keep your viewers engaged. And I think that that's wonderful, and it's led to some really wonderful creative learning content on the platform. But I do think that there's more we can do to help users when they're really on a path, a goal. We can help keep them on that goal. And so I'm pretty excited about what we have in store there as we continue to work to deliver on this pledge.
What do you think about that, John?
It's impressive stuff. I think Katie is somebody, Joe, that we need to keep in touch with. I think the YouTube impact on this space is only going to get greater. And per usual, the user kind of dictates what that experience is going to be. And I know Katie and her team are working on harnessing and evolving that to even greater depth. So I don't know, Joe, if I were you, I would keep her on the short list.
Well, I'm going to do that. Offer accepted. Katie, if you're okay with that, I'm going to keep you now that we're connected. I'm going to have to keep you up to date on what's going on here at EdUp, and you're going to have to keep me up to date on what's going on at YouTube.
It's a deal.
All right, you got it. Well, let me tell you this, guys. For all the listeners out there, I think this is the third time John Ferrari has taken over the episode. I do want to thank you, John. You're welcome to take over anytime you want. The monster, but fourth?
It's four, Joe. It's not shorted here. It's the fourth one.
I would never shortchange you. I'm having a good old time with my soundboard here. John, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming. I love what you're doing, how great of a friend you are to the EdUp experience. We appreciate you, so you have an open mic anytime you want it. But more importantly, today, our guest, Katie Kurtz. She's Director of Content Partnerships, Learning and Social Impact with YouTube. Katie, an honor to have you on the EdUp experience today. Thank you so much for coming.
The honor is all mine. Thank you so much, Joe.
And I was going to use this for you because you're breaking glass ceilings and you're changing higher education every single day with YouTube. And
it's too bad you don't have a little Billy Joel on your soundboard there as my walk-off.
Well, I think you agreed to come back again, so I will have it ready for the next time.
Yeah.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Another, in my opinion, amazing episode of the EdUp Experience podcast. You've just EdUp'd.
Community colleges are major forces in and of themselves, and I figured that there's nothing a group of community colleges couldn't do in a consortium the likes of Unmuddle, that we could be unstoppable in a collective of community colleges across the country, like-minded and serving people's workforce training needs. That was the excitement for me, that a collective of community colleges could do almost anything, even better than each one of us individually is already doing it, like workforce development, which we all are.